will be the final session of our conference. In this session, we will be exploring some cutting-edge technologies and some emerging industrial developments at the intersection of AI and blockchain. Unlike the previous sessions, this session will consist only of a presentation followed by Q&A. And Professor Jung Lee, Vice Dean of the Group Cybersecurity at Korea University, will chairing this session. So I would like to hand over the floor to Professor Lee. So welcome, Professor Lee.
Thank you for your introduction, and welcome everyone to the last session of this conference. And as Dr. Yoon briefly mentioned, this session will explore blockchain technologies. In the previous session, some panelists talked about trust. So I think we can see how blockchain can help to build trust across different countries. I am pleased to introduce our first speaker, Professor Claudio TESSONE. He is a professor at the University of Zurich and head of the Blockchain and Distributed Ledger Technology Group. And he is also co-founder and chairman of the UZH Blockchain Center, one of the world-leading interdisciplinary blockchain research hub. So please join me in welcoming Professor Claudio TESSONE.
Thank you very much, Jung, for the nice introduction. And thank you for the kind invitation. It is for me a pleasure to inaugurate this session in this very prestigious conference. One thing that I am not I am interested in technology from a different angle. As Jung was mentioning, I am very interested in how we see that society is changed by technology, and specifically how technology can help coordinating different facets of our activities as human beings. And in a nutshell, this is why I first became interested in blockchain, and later how this intersects with AI more recently. And one of the things that we have to look when, and the spirit of this presentation, and then I will rewind one slide, the spirit of this presentation is more to look into why is it that blockchains can become a trust layer for the interaction of different usages of AI. From an incentive point of view. And one of the things that we can realize more and more in these years after this surge in the use of AI is the fact that commons that have taken decades to build up have been emptying at a very dangerous pace. When I was 1 month ago in a conference in Berlin, there was this, I read this news in the newspaper actually, which is a very simple website, actually a very small scale website that was called All About Berlin, that had a very single purpose, which was collect all the information about events, cultural events happening in Berlin, and the owner of the website, that was a very small sized company, said how the traffic dramatically reduced at the point in which Google started to include the summary generated by AI of events in Berlin. You did not need to go anymore to go to the website of All About Berlin. You just read the landing page of Google. And this has been happening all around, actually. This is not just anecdotal evidence. If you look at the total visitors that very large social networks that were creating knowledge, like, for example, Quora, in which people were asking questions, technical questions. Quora was more general, sorry. Stack Overflow is one in which programmers were traditionally going to try to find solutions. But even Wikipedia, you see that all of them have seen a very noticeable decrease in total traffic in their websites. Interestingly, one very funny thing in all of this is that Wikimedia Foundation, actually now is licensing all the content that was produced for decades to train actually the AI models by private companies. Okay, so this is also privatization of the commons. So, and the reason is that because we need to train AI is consuming all the shared knowledge that we have been creating over decades at a pace that is much, much higher than the incentive that would allow this knowledge to be recreated, to be produced. Okay, that's why we have a depletion in the contributions in all these websites, which creates a huge range of challenges looking ahead. How is it that we are going to work in the future in this environment? And how is it that these pools of knowledge that we collectively create are going to be sustained? This is on the one side. On the other side, there is also an additional element of concern, which is the fact that actually all that is replacing these commons, remember, all these things were things that were produced at in a distributed manner, in an open manner by hundreds of thousands or millions of people. Now we are replacing it by automated generation of content that is similar, okay, or allows us to browse this content easily. However, the ownership of the models, the data that allows the models to run, but also even the hardware, the infrastructure that runs these AIs that allows us to produce the content, all of them are happening in closed environments. Okay, we have a lot of concentration of market participants that create basically an oligopoly of the infrastructure that is running and producing the content that is replacing these commons. The reason actually is that we are transitioning from a situation in which we have been using for the last half decade these LLMs as answering machines. We prompt, we receive answers, and there is a transition that is ongoing that we are all experiencing that is allowing these systems to be replaced by agents that are more autonomous, that have much more autonomous action, because then they are much more useful for us. What we want, as we know the difference between this prompt-like approach to the agent base is that when you have agents can also plan ahead, can decide, and eventually can alter the environment. An agent is not something that is just feeding us with information. An agent is also, the word says itself, is an entity that has an agency towards acting on the environment. However, here is where the gap becomes crucial, is the fact that the agents that are inside of these systems were not designed to have to alter the environment in terms of having economic agency, which is severely needed. One of the things that you want the most in the agents is that they, for example, are able to execute payments. Another thing that you may want to do is also that they get to know that other agents exist. And I am not only thinking of agents that each one of the individuals generate, because you see that currently in the way in which we are using the agents and coordinating them, we are using them as groups that are controlled always by the same creator. Okay? Then there is a trust between the agents that is inherent because of the who is the creator of them. That is why it is simple to coordinate the agents that we own, because all the agents trust the creators, that is ourselves. This creates a lot of redundancy and a lot of unintended consequences of non-optimal design of the agents. In looking ahead, a much better functioning for the system would be that the agents, even if they do not fully trust each other, they should be able to coordinate. And therefore, what we need is a layer of coordination for agents who do not fully trust each other to escape the situation of redundancy and suboptimality in which we are now. That's why we need agents that are able to own, to get to know each other, to execute payments. For example, for services that one agent execute for services that one agent provides to another, also to have contractual obligations between each other, such that if the obligations are not fulfilled, the payment is not executed. So you need a minimal institutional layer. And also, you have to be able to be enforcing the rules that are shaping them. Therefore, what we need is agents that are brought to economic life, meaning that they are able to interact even when you do not have full trust, when you have incomplete trust. The one thing that is very important to mention in terms of AI is the fact that if we look at a single agent, because of the way in which it's designed, it is very prone not to realize about the effects of externalities in the decisions that they make, okay? Agents will try to maximize their own notion of, for example, yield, whatever, but any kind of damage that is performed on top of that is not going to be considered as well as a consequence of the actions of the agent. They have a very limited horizon. On the other side, a problem that exists between agents is that this notion of principals and agent, a problem that exists typically in organizations, cannot automatically be solved through the creation of multiple agents, because all of them are nowadays generated by the same user. So actually they are simply mere digital representations of the intentions of the mere user. And that's why these agents are not able to solve the typical problems that you have in an economy or in an organization even. On a completely different level, and before we were talking about agents that interact, on the other side, we have a concentration in who is controlling the infrastructure that runs the agents. And you see that this is not a problem that there are bugs in the way in which we are designing the agents. It's simply that there is no way in which we are able to let them coordinate with each other if they do not have full trust in each other. Okay, this is exactly the conclusion that I said before. And the question is, why is it that blockchain can help here? Okay. Specifically, one thing that I would like to say, I'm a professor of blockchain. I'm very critical of most of the blockchain implementations that have been happening in the past, because I think that while they are very good technical constructs, they fail at delivering on the premises they were built to fulfill. Like, for example, payment systems that are decentralized, as I say, that heavily distributed systems that bear no concentration of power. So if I have to look into the last 15 years, 15 years of blockchain development as a whole, I see that blockchains have been falling short on the premises. How is it that blockchains satisfy the questions that we have now? Let us try to look into this. On the one side, how is it that we are able to coordinate with each other? Because at the end of the day, our society, this is what I was saying about the AI agents. We do not fully trust each other. That's why we need institutions that settle and do resolution in conflicts. And on an economic level, this is why you have regulatory bodies that allow us, or central authorities that create our means of exchange, that create the boundaries of what are the conducts that financial institutions should perform. And on the other side, we also have been resorting on central authorities exactly in terms of governance. That's why we have nation states. Okay, we always need an institutional framework that provides the means for us to enforce rules. And blockchains actually have one of the good things of blockchain, if we do not look at the speculation around assets built on top of them, is that they serve as a minimum institutional substrate that actually enables this coordination at the economic level among actors that have completely misaligned incentives, and actually that do not trust each other. I think that this is the best achievement of all the blockchains that we have been seeing so far, is exactly achieving this role. And how is it that you do that? You do it through the creation of tokens that can represent assets, that can serve multiple purposes, not only represent a store of value, that can be of multiple natures. And on top of that, you can also implement the whole organization inside of the blockchain, or many of their processes there. Blockchains failed because of the rampant speculation that some of the mechanisms at play that were created inside of blockchains as incentives to keep the system functioning. However, one thing, as I say, that is very important is that always blockchains allowed everybody to reach consensus on which is the status of the system, thanks to a very powerful mechanism of minimal incentives and institutional layer that is in general very thin, but allows actually the coordination to emerge and to sustain. You see, we have been discussing for 16 years whether Bitcoin or not will survive, etc. And actually the network has been continued to function. Ethereum has been functioning for 11, 12 years already without any disruption, because all the mechanisms that ensure governance, even if they are thin, are at place. Why is it that the AI agents link together with blockchains? On the one side is because being digital rails, digital infrastructure, and having a very lax notion of identity is something that allows AI agents to own inside of this ecosystem, own any kind of asset, any kind of digital representation of something. It can also mean payments, and payments actually that are properly settled with a well-defined finality that no operator a priori can reverse or freeze externally, gives a bounded notion of ownership. And here I want to also mention that this is specifically important when you have more and more places in the world that are regulating stablecoins as means of payment, but also other countries are exploring or even implementing in the real world retail CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, all of them with all these notions of programmability. On the other side, any kind of contractual relationship that engages different units of the AI agents is something that can be programmed in terms of contracts that are written inside of the chain. I would say not contracts in the legal sense, but contracts in the sense of conditions. And on top of that, you can also have governance of these systems. So on the one side, this enables one thing that is phenomenal if we are able to unlock it, which is the fact that we would be able to create markets in which agents interact with each other and settle exactly like we have been doing as human beings for a long period of time. And settlements are important, and having a ledger of all these settlements is important, and that's why the mere fact that we have a blockchain is so fundamental, is because what is written in the second box, settlement is a sort of memory in an economic sense. If we have a record of all the settlements that have been happening over time, we are able to actually see, even get notions of reputation of the agents and their past interactions. Also, you can price and settle things automatically thanks to protocols like DeFi and so on. The other thing is that agents can also, as I said before, can engage in contracts. And the final, this is on the side of the ledger itself. Another part that is worth exploring, and I think that it is much more forward-looking as well, in how is it that we live this environment in which our society relies only on central parties that are developing most of the actions for us, in this case, the companies that are offering these services. There is also the possibility to decentralize as well the infrastructure if we rely also on decentralized models, okay, federated learning and these kind of things that allows us to escape this lock-in in which currently are. So basically what I want to say is that there are two levels. On the one side, you have blockchains and the markets that agents can build and automate directly at the level of interactions inside of the blockchain. On the one side, there is an infrastructure aspect that can also be supported and support actually a better functioning of these systems. One thing that I was not mentioning so far, but I would like to also make a word on, just to conclude, is the fact that actually through blockchains as well, you can also re-incentivize the replenishing of the commons I was speaking at the beginning. Because at the end of the day, you can also have attributions for the usage of your own, of the data that is being generated for the feeding of the model, something that is not happening now anymore. So just to conclude, creating intelligent systems, smarter and smarter models, is not something simple to do. It's a huge achievement. However, by itself, it is not enough. What we need actually is the coordination of all this intelligence that we are created as completely separated silos. And this is what will turn actually all these autonomous agents that I am talking about into an actual economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your great talk. And though we don't have enough time, but I think we can have one question from the audience. So raise your hand if you have any question. Yeah, if you don't, can I ask just one question? Yeah, I know that you are working on blockchain, so you only talked about some bright side of the blockchain. So is there any potential drawback of applying blockchain to AI?
Of course, can be terribly wrong. Can be the worst dystopia that you can imagine. So, as I said, I think that if you blindly implement AI agents in some of the systems that we are seeing today that are based on blockchains, we will be, you see that blockchains, as I said, so far have been mostly used to speculation. If you, on top of that, build systems that in an automated fashion start to interact at a pace that we cannot anymore understand inside of these ecosystems, could be potentially very dangerous. My point is actually that you need a new generation of systems that are built on a different range of incentives, also at the blockchain level. Because I think that from a technical perspective, blockchains are very good, not from the design of the economies that can be built on top of them. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's thank our speaker again. Okay, then let me introduce our next speaker, Jake STOLARSKI. He is the founder and CEO of NERO Chain. He has abundant industrial experience, including Northman Group, US Air Force Research Lab, and Cyber Technology Management. After serving as a CEO of Cube Network, he founded NERO Chain. Yeah, please join me in welcoming our next speaker.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for having myself and Dasha to the KU team and the NM145 team. We're extremely grateful to be here, and it's a huge privilege to be here with you guys. So just, I guess, what I'm going to present is like a little bit dense, but I'll try to like make it bite-sized and, and fill it in with a few anecdotes. But just to get started, yesterday, Professor TESSONE and I were kind of talking at the dinner, and one of the things came up just about some of the deficiencies that, some of the shortcomings that happen in the blockchain space. And I think that one of them is this phrase that kind of gets under my skin a little bit, which is this term onboarding. And it's like onboarding sort of implies that, this blockchain or this Web3 industry needs to like bring people into this kind of this way of being, this very complex, this like very tech savvy world where there's seed phrases and all of these things you have to understand and think about in complexity, and it you have to have conscious effort to think about how to like interact with a completely new technology. And just for a little background, like NERO is a layer 1 modular blockchain. What does that mean? It's decentralized public infrastructure, but one of the, I guess the most important thing that we think about with NERO, and these are conversations that Professor Lee and Jun and we have had a lot, is about this idea of abstraction. And so abstraction in itself sounds like another kind of one of those technical terms, but what I think is the most important thing that blockchains can do today is sort of make themselves invisible, sort of disappear into the background. And I guess like in one statement, abstraction can allow that to happen, is allowing things to sort of disappear, meet the users where they are, not have to onboard them into new systems, not have to think about like people learning completely new tech savvy type of systems. So today, I'll be presenting something that we've thought about a lot to apply kind of like on top of blockchains in combination with mobile devices, which is something called proof of SIM. So this is a kind of a combination of like two I guess key important things that I'll cover today is going to be authentication. And so, what is authentication? Authentication can be many things. It's basically a way for you to get to the other side of some, secure environment. And the other thing is going to be wallets. So wallets, by and large, fall into the category of what I said before, of this kind of really amazing property of blockchains and asset ownership and decentralized asset ownership, but are completely broken with how we've applied this technology, assuming people want to learn how to manage a seed phrase, manage sort of their own assets that can be irreversible in terms of transactions. So I'm just going to talk about some of the like on the identity side. There's tons of fraud every year, very, very expensive, half $1 trillion of fraud. I mean, this number is probably conservative in terms of the cost of fraud every year. In the US alone, the fraud related to like Social Security and welfare distribution is something like 250 to 500 billion. And that's like, we're talking about like GDP of Portugal and Greece types of numbers of fraud. So there's a lot of fraud out there. We hear it every day, these corporate breaches, the very vulnerable environments. So one of the things that, each of these kind of, each of these methodologies has their own problems on their own. So when you think about like logging into things, you hear, 2FA, right? Get a second factor of authentication. Sometimes they're required. They're not often mandated. Some different platforms do require 2FAs. So like the combination of these things, makes the access, more robust, which is why you think about like two-factor authentication. One of the cool things that you can do with this kind of blockchain technology and this kind of term abstraction is allow for kind of a behind-the-scenes combination of these things that really is where I think the power lies. So the innovation here that we've been researching and discussing a lot with partners is the idea of using the SIM or an eSIM as an environment for having effectively an authentication pathway as well as a wallet. So a wallet that the end user doesn't even know exists there. So something that's like can almost become your own sort of sovereign digital bank at scale. This is obviously something that like will take a long time to get regulators, comfortable with, but it can exist sort of in dormancy at the sort of instantiation of the SIM-based identity creation. So I would say, just from our point of view, the breakthrough here is that you have this tamper-proof sort of environment, and I know that the pushback might be, oh, but what about SIM swapping? I'll get to that a little bit later. You have this environment that's already very secure that communicates via over-the-air or out-of-band channels. So like compared to SMS OTP, I'll just kind of I'll kind of skip ahead and then come back. So compared to SMS OTP, you have this is SMS OTP is like being phased out in many different countries, and it's one of these things where it's easy to spoof, and it's becoming easier with it's becoming easier by the day with AI to create kind of these different pathways for fraudulent misrepresentation of individuals. So SMS OTP passwords, we all know kind of the shortcomings of passwords, just generally speaking. And authenticators pretty good, but they all rely on the same sort of signature scheme that is not particularly. It just adds an additional layer rather than being something that's sufficient on a standalone. So what we think we've sort of unlocked here is this idea that proof of SIM can be a pathway that exists communicating sort of on its own channel. So what does that mean? So SMS, everyone can send a SMS to anyone else in this room. It's a communication channel that everyone has access to. But when the mobile carriers are communicating with your device, that's an out-of-band communication pathway. So you have to have approval to effectively interact. So you have to be a mobile carrier or MVNO, mobile virtual network operator, in order to send messages over that channel. So in the same way that you can think of AM or FM radio, you have to have clearance from, in the U.S. it's the FTC or FCC to send messages across that channel. Same is true for the SIM. If you wanted to send a message to make an update to a SIM or check if somebody is up to speed and payment on their SIM card, then you have to communicate in this channel that's out of band, which makes the SIM a really, really strong option for authentication. So if we can agree that if we can agree that premise that right now distributing a new form of authentication that can be installed by the carriers or installed by the MVNOs or possibly mandated by certain governments to have an upgradable identity attached to the SIM card. This is a new authentication channel that can be sort of distributed at scale very quickly, if there's the demand for it. So compared to like what I was saying before at the beginning, this idea of onboarding, this idea of like pulling people to download a new application, to download a new piece of software, to take some action, to learn a new thing, instead of that pathway, we could sort of like in the snap of a fingers create a whole entire new like more robust authentication pathway by using the SIM card. So it's pushed to the devices instead of requiring the user to do anything. Let me see. I don't know how much time I have left. So let me just, okay, so I'll just go here for a second. So what's really cool about this is that, once you have that authentication channel, you can do things, like I said, like this idea of giving every individual a wallet inside of their SIM without them even knowing about it. So now this solves this idea of no more need for, managing your own seed phrase, no more need for even thinking about what's there. Like effectively, you could access digital assets from within an embedded applet within the SIM card, and now everyone on the planet could effectively have, with the snap of a finger, access to digital money. And so the things that can offer that kind of pertain to this conference here, the idea of peace and prosperity is, whether you like it or not, or agree with it politically or not, like universal basic income is probably an inevitability across the world. And what better way to distribute and make sure you can kind of trace and track the expenditures of universal basic income or welfare to every single person on the planet than using a system like this. So, just to put it into context, if you were going to try to send, every individual on the planet some form of universal basic income through, FedWire or ACH or by check, it would cost billions of dollars to send that, and weeks or months to effectively deliver those funds. The amazing innovation about distributed ledgers is that you could effectively send every single person on the planet with one transaction dispersed all of those funds, and probably the cost would be in the single digit dollars to send, distribute all of those funds. Let me just go. So I think that what's also interesting about this is that for mobile network operators and telecom operators, this also provides an opportunity for those entities to sort of become their own sort of banking, sort of like e-banking or neobank type of institution. They can effectively turn what is the SIM card into a sort of sovereign, digital asset wallet or a sovereign, mobile money account that can function in any blockchain and in any environment, and have its own sort of customizable parameters and permissions set around it, thanks to kind of the account abstraction stuff and these new innovations that have sort of come to light. So so I mean, in terms of I think everyone's probably pretty familiar with some of the penalties that come from remittance and wires and sending money abroad. I think one of we were discussing this again last night. One of crypto's kind of killer use cases is definitely been remittance. So the advent of stablecoins allows for the instantaneous settlement of money, between two sovereign individual parties across the world instantaneously. That's no small feat. The coordination is obviously managed and validated by the network validators and operators, but that is one of those things where we're seeing, I think probably in the last 2 years we saw a huge surge in interest around stablecoins because, instead of this, say, Western Union, 2 to 5% penalty for sending money, you can effectively send it for whatever the network costs are in these days, which is usually fixed based on the amount of information stored in that transaction, which is the same for a $1 transaction or $1 billion. It's kind of the same. I think there was a stat last week I saw that there was the largest single transaction on the blockchain. I think hit the ledger last week. I think it was like a $500 million single transaction withdrawal, and the fees that were paid on it, I can't remember, but it was something like 2 to 3 pennies to move that amount of money between two sovereign individuals on the blockchain, which is really cool. So so these are just some of those opportunities that are abundant, in the future where your phone can become a sovereign wallet, which can become its own sort of neobank. You're going to be able to save on fees. You're going to be able to settle instantaneously. You're going to be able to access sort of other other financial primitives that are can be sort of difficult to access, like borrowing or lending services. These types of things are super cool, and of course there's many other things that probably haven't even been discovered yet that it can be offered. So yeah, this technology that we've been working on has been in collaboration with a company out of Taiwan called TESSONE, who's been in the SIM card space for a very long time, and one of the coolest parts about this is sort of related to the previous session about privacy and privacy of information, is that this type of SIM-based identity can be very much remaining private. So nobody will necessarily know who's the one interacting or sending money. There can be all kinds of ways to prevent, even if the transactions are settling on a public ledger, all kinds of ways to obfuscate or kind of shroud the the kind of end user in this case. So we're excited about this because we want to find like partners to kind of do these pilots with, and because there's a lot that goes into one integration that we haven't even probably considered, and there's a lot of customization that needs to happen. But we are excited because we think that this is this kind of proof of SIM or SIM-based authentication that can lead to a SIM-based wallet for every single human on the planet is really the fastest solution to solving that onboarding problem that I had mentioned earlier. Meeting every single human who's holding a mobile device where they are, bringing sort of the virtues and the benefits of blockchains to them, rather than asking them to learn and download a new wallet and learn how to manage that wallet and feel like they're safe with their funds in there. So yeah, I think there's probably a few questions out there, but I'll kind of leave this Q&A up there. But yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. This is something that we've been really thinking about for the last 9 months, and the NM145 guys, and we've been discussing these how to potentially apply this into different fields, and kind of some of the other. There's obviously like legal and some sort of technical barriers on each of them that are customized, but I think we're super excited because we feel like this is an inevitability, and we definitely want to be a part of the inevitable future of being a facilitator of offering every single human on the planet a neobank or a mobile wallet within their SIM environment. So thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you very much for your great talk. And yeah, do you have any questions? Yeah.
So my question is, like, implementing this to mobile phone carriers, what about companies which have their own like intranet system?
Yeah, great question. So in that case, you could partner with, say, like a MVNO, like a the not the actual the people that own the stations, but the ones that like rent space on them, and you could collaborate with those parties to offer some sort of like intranet-based solution. So like if a bank wanted to have their own authentication suite for their own employees, they would just say, let's bring in a MVNO, somebody who can actually operate on that band, and then make all of their employees kind of opt into this authentication pathway that uses their phone as the it's a great use case, replacing the like RSA, the dongle, that type of thing, and you don't have to manage it or a new thing to lose. It's kind of now a more secure alternative to those types of offerings, right? That are currently the status quo, and yeah.
And another interesting use case, which would be like, how would you run this system, for example, with other open source hardware without using an internet connection?
So, without using an internet connection. So, the channel is like sort of broadband that's being activated. So, do you mean without broadband or without? Because it's that's what's doing the checking. It's like this a private out of band communication that is
without the sort of like broadband. Like for example, another open source device like Meshtastic, which uses completely different frequency allocations to communicate with other devices.
Technically, yes. I think part of what we think the virtue of this is that like, you would then have to trust that the operators of that mesh network are not malicious, or they're not going to be sending sort of spoof messages across this thing. But sure, I think if yeah, exactly. So you'd have to sort of trust you now have introduced a new layer of trust of like needing to trust the mesh network operators to sort of do the right thing or make sure they're not malicious. Which I think the assumption here is that if the telecom or the MVNO gets hacked, that would be the only possible way that like this system could break down, which introduces a whole other new set of problems. If it can be installing stuff onto a SIM card, then we've got bigger problems. So
yeah, understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, Dr. Claudio, has a question, but because of limited time, you can talk to him, after the session. Okay,
Thanks
let's
so
thank
much.
our speaker again. Okay, then let me introduce our next speaker, Jihao. He's the founder and CEO of Block.io. And as an Oxford alumnus, he served as an AI research fellow at Imperial College London. And he founded Block to make the advanced AI secure, sovereign, and practical for the world's most data-sensitive sectors. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker.
Hey everyone, Zhao-san, CEO and founder of Flock. Today I'm gonna talk about the thing that everyone's talking about, right? AI and blockchain, and why and how they can be collaborated. There are many different ways of thinking of this. AI on blockchain, either using blockchain as a distribution for the incentives, or in another way, blockchain for the AI, right? Where the blockchain can be used into the AI systems that can help the mechanism of any AI training. So that's basically what we are focusing on. So the name itself, Flock, it's actually a pun. It's a combination of federated learning and blockchain. So it's basically by the name itself, it's meaning that, okay, we're bringing the technology together to using blockchain to help the building of AI systems. So yes, this is a paper that we submitted. I think it's now on transactions on artificial intelligence, TAI, on talking about Flock as a term, as an academic term that we define how to use Flock as a mechanism to defend it against the poisoning attacks in federated learning environments. So just simple background, federated learning is something Google proposed in 2017, early days. That means that you can train a model in a way that's distributed between different clients. The good part of it is, so every client can have their own data, own everything just in their own part. You don't need to share anything to others. So that's traditionally, that's federated learning, right? But then the problem is, in a controlled environment, federated learning, that there will always require a supernode. Just like we can think of this as a blockchain, right? You will have to have a centralized node to control everything to make sure nobody's playing evil. Or if you want to make it decentralized, then you will be facing the problem of someone is pointing attack the whole models. So traditionally, for example, when people do federated learning, they have to do in a trusted circle. So the problem that Flock as a company trying to solve is whether we can actually run a decentralized model that everyone can join, everyone can hop on and hop off. So that's basically Flock. Yeah, so there are several solutions so far, to mitigate the pointing attacks. For example, using ZK proofs. For example, lots of the advanced crypto techniques. But for us, we actually are using this blockchain as a solution to merge the training mechanism. So basically, well, a good part of blockchain is there's incentives on blockchain, right? And then there's the game theory that you can actually ask people to stake to train. So that can have the mechanism to ensure that the point attackers, the scammers of the network can be ruled out. Yeah, so it's inspired by the famous POS, proof of stakes mechanism in blockchain, of course. And then what we do is the peer-to-peer voting plus reward and slush mechanism for the whole system. Basically, every time when we do a training, we will upload, well, we don't upload any users' data, users' information. We just upload the change of the gradients, basically. And then to aggregate local models into a general model, and then there will be a vote for validators to see whether this upgrade of the model is good or bad. And then, of course, the winner will get their weights merged into the model, or the model will be reverted back because they think that's a pointless step. Yeah, so by root, basically, it's like that. We have a setup, we randomly pick the voters and randomly pick the validators, and then propose, do the training locally. So nothing of your personal data gonna leak out. And then aggregating model, checking if the model is genuine or not. If it is, then we go next epoch. If it's not, then we revert it back. So that's generally the system and how it works. Yeah, the pseudocode and also the experiments. We've done several experiments on our paper, basically talking about how we use this in a practical data sets and to prove the Flock mechanism can reach even better results. There's some empirical analysis and results. I remember there's a page directly talking about the, yes. So basically, we had this comparison using, for example, or Fed average. That's the basically just an average way of averaging the weights of the models. And then with or without Flock, well, that's with block or without block, basically ours, right? You can see the accuracy. So if we add more scammers or poisoners into the network, the accuracy of a traditional federated learning model will decrease a lot and a lot. Like in the last one, 40%, meaning that in the network, there's 40% of the guys who are just sending random data, random whatever. The accuracy of a model running can be like only just 70%. But with Flock as a blockchain mechanism, we can still ensure the accuracy of the model, AI model, to 95.5%. So that's generally the thing and the paper that what we're talking about. Yeah, so basically that's the mechanism and the things that we innovated and then we published in 2022, quite some years ago. And it's not just it. We also have other papers, adding more technology and information together. For example, ZKFL, which I just had a chat with Professor Kim also yesterday, right? This is something that the School of Cybersecurity will be also interested, like Flock as a mechanism, that's blockchain with AI. And then adding a cybersecurity bit is what we call ZK Flock, right? So with ZK to do the proof so that even when you're transmitting your weights, you are still not leaking any information, even for the weights itself, which is already safe. Okay. So with that technology, so as a company, so we now provide all this together with other AI technologists as the, as a consulting firm, likely to promoting the technology and building for our clients. So that's where we call it the real AI, the real impact. We're calling us this total solution provider that can help bringing AI capabilities to enterprises and governments because of this flock mechanism, right? It's helping the governments, helping the companies to bring something to life that without needing to worry about privacy, without needing to worry about their data leakages, without needing to worry about that in an open system, can I collaborate with others, right? In controlled environment, of course, for sure, like if it's like a secure network within Korea University, of course, it's like security can do local training. But for example, if it's a bunch of universities want to train something together, some in Korea, some in the UK, some in Hong Kong, then how will that be safe, right? So that's generally the question that we're trying to answer and helping our clients to build it. Yeah, so our solution basically is using Flock Stack as our core and then bringing the tailored consulting to the industries that actually faces a lot of the data privacy issues, like finance, healthcare, retail, governance. Yeah, so the pillars are, for example, sovereign AI ecosystem, where we help distribute the private AI infrastructure. We help with the custom model training, and we help with the team training and certification to some of the governments. Like in another pillar, that's for the operations, business operations. So nowadays, many companies are trying to optimize their human capital, let's say, right? So what's the best way to deploy current AI models and the best AI capabilities into your system, still preserving the firewalls between different teams. For example, in trading firms, right? You just simply cannot mix the data together because that's so sensitive between different desks. Even by regulation, they can't. Also, we have our enterprise AI gateway, meaning that you can access models, right? Open source models, Flock build models, or those proprietary models, through our one gateway. So it's easier for enterprise to just using one gateway to control all their traffic of their AI model usage, large language models, by the way. So yeah, so about tech stack, I actually just explained in detail earlier, right? So it's basically the same logic, using Flock decentralized stack or DFL stack, just trying to make sure that we can provide this service in a way that a model was trained and preserved in a way that nobody's data got leaked. So yeah, so that's basically the unfair advantages of Flock, right? So we have a research-backed AI infrastructure where our papers and everything, we always produce papers and put on the top conference and journals. And we have all the major models and it's below market price, yes. Because of the consumption and also the inventory of those model tokens. And also we have full stack delivery, like you just need to have your query, then we will go as a total solution to the consultancy. And also we trusted by global organizations. Several examples, like we are the AI partner for UNDP, basically helping them to push privacy AI solutions to many of the smaller countries that are needing those helps, right? Like Rwanda, Liberia, together with ANA 145, and Dominican Republic, that we're actually working on insurance sector together with the government. Yeah, so basically some case studies about us, the UNDP thing. That's the launch of this UNDP blockchain advisory group, where Flock is one of them. It's our work with Sarawak government, which is one state of Malaysia, where we help them building the customized AI center and also on green energy, which I think is a similar thing that Jeju trying to bring, right? Green energy AI data center. I think that will be a thing for many of the governments who are trying to push, the next era of AIDC, but still on green energy. We work with QN a lot because they provide open source models with very good benchmark, so that we can provide those models very well and fine tune them very well to our clients. There's a healthcare case. That's basically because majority of us based in London, UK. So we have a lot of collaborations with the hospitals there, especially, for example, this glucose monitoring application, because that's your health data. You don't want to send it everywhere, right? So we have this local training model that can predict and train your glucose, and then to predict, the level of your glucose level. That's for health reasons. And there's a cute one called Baby 4D. It's like for the new becoming moms, right, who want to see their baby's face in a AI rendered way. But of course, those data you don't want to send to everyone, so we have this local rendering. Just have a ultrasound of your baby, and then the AI will predict how your baby will look like in 10 months' time. So yeah, we got many of these interesting collaborations and applications, and yeah, we have our main business side team and also research team, and thanks Professor Lee is also here. We always try to collaborate together and then bring more high and solid research and business to the world. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, does anyone have any questions? I know that there could be many threats in federated learning because many participants are involving training and inferencing. So from your perspective, which area must be addressed in the near future?
Oh, in the general federated learning sector, I think, it's especially the cybersecurity angle of it. So that's why I bring about the ZKFL thing a lot. So that's one part that I think will be super important in the future. And the other part is the unlearning, right? So model can learn stuff, and then let's say in the UU under GDPR, users had the request say, you need to delete my data from your model. Then how do you prove that you've deleted users' data, right? So there's a sector called unlearning. So it's still federated unlearning that can help bring AI models to very much next stage. Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's thank our speaker again. And let me introduce our next speaker, Jun Sik. He's a founder and CEO of ANAM 145, and he has over 15-year career in accounting firms, including KPMG, Deloitte, and PwC. And he also served as an adjunct professor at Korea University, teaching the practical and academic insights in cybersecurity and digital trust. Currently, he is a CEO of Beyond Media and ANAM 145. So please join me in welcoming our next speaker.
Thank you for the great introduction. And my name is Jun, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of the ANAM 145. And today I want to talk about the trust, not the blockchain itself. And we did some project at Africa and Liberia, and we called our solution is control layer. It's for the accountable the solution for ODA the payment. Yes, actually today it's like moving money is really easy. So we focusing the problem is like fast payment is not enough for the ODA because like trust is the most important things. So we think about like control well is like some check the policy before the moving. So we develop some engine before the transaction occurred. So this is a detail moving. I mean, we check the like who is like reliability and who verified and who is like approval for the payment. Actually, institutions really care about this question, not just for the fast transaction. So we think like at the ODA is like there is some money and there is some donor and there is like policy rule. So that's why we think like policy is really important before the moving the money. But in the blockchain area, there is like a few the solution check the policy before the transaction occurred. So at the UNDP Liberia project, there is some challenge. So there is some we call the DSA. DSA is like daily substance allowance for the UNDP employees at the local area, and there is some problem because like all the transaction verified by the manual paper, so people wait like sometimes 3 or 4 days, sometimes a week. Because like $4 is like for the 4 or 5 member of the family in the Liberia. That is like that money is really important for them, but they just wait because like all the paper is like manual, and some bad people get the money for twice using fake ID. So we want to like solve this problem. So there is some trust gap, and we want to like solve this problem, but there is a huge problem because like some people in Liberia have the smartphone, but some people in Liberia doesn't have old phone. We call that phone is like future phone, and some people have doesn't have any phone. So and there's a few banks. So if someone like trying to find a bank, they have to walk like 2 or 3 hours because like they doesn't have any like transportation. So there is like rarely find the bus or train. So we need to find some way how we pay to them using some wallet without any smartphone user or someone doesn't have any phone. So we think about like the understanding their environment. We find some interesting because like there is some family is like there is like the friend of family know each other very well. So we think about the paper voucher using community-driven approval. So if someone doesn't have a smartphone, or if someone doesn't have any phone, the people get verified using community-driven. Then at least they don't have any smartphone, but at least they have some paper. So we using QR code. So we provide some paper voucher to get the money. So we provide we some all 3 way of the approval. If someone have the smartphone, and if someone have like just future phone, old phone, and someone has like the any phone, then we 3 way approval. So all the people can use the approval in their during this project. So our control layer architecture is like focusing on the inclusion. That is like most important factor of during this project. And we think about the verification because like in Africa and Liberia area doesn't have any social security number system. So so verification is very challenging. So we're using AI, the technology. Actually, like there is like Flock CEO the Jihao here, and we collaboration with the Flock team, and AI help us to detect the risk and verification. So we using blockchain technology and using AI, so we have to we can get a fast verification, and using the account abstraction technology, the check the policy, because we can hold the money before the execution. So we call that we call that the AA policy engine. So actually we make some evidence for the UNDP, because they need some proof of the governance. So our control layer solution is account abstraction powered policy engine, and control layer decide before the money move. So not just for the wallet sign, this is not just wallet, it's for the governance layer. And the account abstraction make the institutional policy, the institution get more strong internal control, because before payment occurred, the AA enable the policy meet the transaction occurred, and paymaster doing everything for the actual user, even though the people doesn't have any knowledge about the blockchain. Paymaster do everything for them, even though the final beneficiary doesn't pay anything, because paymaster pay everything for them. Actually, the NERO is great for this solution. Actually, we gonna using NERO chain other for the project. And AA-based policy engine before the money moves, so every payment pass through the policy, so we can allow and hold and reject before the execution. And the hold is not just refuse. It's for remain some review the policy. And the paymaster is really important things, because we can the beneficiary should not meet to understand blockchain technology. They just they can using some benefit from the technology. So paymaster enough to do that. And every blockchain the record and what happened, so immutably and transparently and for real time. And AI just help us. The important thing is final decision done by human, not just not by the AI. That is the very important things. When we using AI technology more and more, and there is huge cyber security risk. So we think about the most important evidence put there offline, very sensitive information have to put the layer 2 level, because we don't need all the record on the blockchain, because blockchain is kind of very expensive technology. So and in the for the ODA aspect, there's some rural area Africa doesn't have enough connectivity. So we think about all the information, sensitive information, and all the transactions have to offline and layer 2. Then when people meet some Wi-Fi environment, then we can load up all the transaction using the hash. so we can protect some important data. That's why we think about the architecture design to protect privacy using AI technology and blockchain. So yeah, so that's what I said before, and this is the process in the UNDP Africa. People registration and check it when we use the AI technology. We detect some fake ID because, like, even though they don't have any social security the numbering and any system, they using fake ID. So we have to use some AI to detect some fake ID, and because like there are so many people in there, so we have to using AI. But final decision is by human using the policy engine. Then if we meet the policy, then we just like go through the payment, and if the policy conflict, then we can hold. That's why we need account abstraction, and we also using paymaster, and that's like then we can deliver all the blockchain record to the UNDP for the audit trail. That is like this is our the process what we did at UNDP Liberia project. And yeah, this is like our contribution fact, because like blockchain technology not for the rich people, not just some for the few people. It's for the everyone people, the body. Someone doesn't have any phone, and someone doesn't have any internet connectivity. So we inclusion by design. We provide smartphone user. We provide our solution to all the future phone user, and someone doesn't have any phone. We can they also can use our solution. That is our critical contribution, I think, and we provide 6 kind of layer. The first one is assess layer and evidence, and AI have our the transaction, and we provide AI policy, and we also using paymaster, and we remain audit record for the transaction and audit trail. So in Liberia DSA, what we did at Liberia, we can using any other ODA the transaction like youth employment or humanitarian cash transfer. So we can apply various ODA the transaction and various NGO organization. So we can expect using our solution with a Flock or NERO chain for the project for especially ODA transaction for various the NGO project. So yeah, this is the conclusion. So the future is ODA is not just digital payment. It's like verifiable, inclusive. It's most important things, because like ODA for everyone, not just for few people. And the most important things is like accountable and trust the solution that we are trying to do to make. Technology is not our goal. The development of the beneficiary for everyone, that is our goal. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. And does anyone have any question? What, too many questions? Okay.
So on the insight that was given in the presentation, for future phone users with this offline blockchain, first it would be the token, then the upload later. How would you make sure that the data packet which contains this token does not get intercepted by malicious actors, or if it would be cloned by someone else?
Actually, we using our own the OS. We call like Anam the path that we trying to do apply. So when people using our OS, then any malware can download our ecosystem. That's what we're trying to do. Actually, that your point is like very great, because like there is some gap between the layer 2 to the layer 1. So hacker can attack when the offline we upload to the data to online. So we have to protect to the gap. That's what we trying to make our own OS. Yes. That's why we're trying to do. Thanks for the great question. Thank you.
Do we have, okay. Thank you for sharing this amazing example. I'd like to ask a question about how you actually integrate the AI technology for those who don't have their own fund in African countries. I mean, in Liberia.
Yes, actually, that is like we call community-driven approval. Actually, that is not like for the technology, that is for the culture and understanding about their community. In their people, they take care of each other, and there are like 50 or 100 people in the village. They know each other very well. So we think about this is not like we can use their mechanism. So if like 3 or 4 people like authorize each other, oh, this is like eligible beneficiary, then they write down the paper, their signature. Then they bring the paper to UNDP employee. Then we provide QR code on that paper voucher, then authorized by UNDP people. Then we give them some stable coin they can use. That's what we call paper voucher and paper wallet.
So can I ask one more follow-up question regarding this? So sorry.
It's okay.
So
yeah.
was the data collected by the village people like stored in the blockchain technology, or is it just there?
Actually, that is like storage by the node, but somehow they all the gathering the information all to the master node. Then that is the evidence for the audit, for the trail that we design for UNDP, because like they need some strong evidence, every single evidence for their transaction, for their donor, and because like they are NGO, so yes, that's what design and we execute the project at UNDP Liberia.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. It will be last question. I strongly believe the blockchain is a key enabler for the digital public infrastructure, and I also have experience making the blockchain-based agriculture voucher in Madagascar. And in my experience, and many information system like this has failed in maintenance process because they lack of budget or some infrastructure or capacity to operate those systems. For example, Koika, their project about 1% of 99% of the QuickCast project has failed in maintenance progress. So how can you these projects be successful in maintenance phase?
Okay, so I think like we provide blockchain solution. So in my perception, blockchain is like not a magic tool. So we have to like verify this project need blockchain technology or not, because the blockchain technology not a convenient, not a fast, and not a cheap. So, but people think like everything, every transaction need blockchain. Blockchain, provide more security. But that is not true. So that's why there are many projects apply blockchain, then they fail, because like some project, some like UNDP, this Liberia, so like there are people they can wait, but the fast is not important, but the trust is more important than the time, speed, something like that. Then blockchain help those transactions. So we have to verify the nature of transaction and nature of environment. So that is the most important fact to apply blockchain or not. That's my perception.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's thank our speaker again. Yeah, I would like to thank everyone, especially speakers, attendees, and our our team members. And before closing, I would like to ask all speakers to come forward to take a group photo. Yeah, not after this session. After this session. Yeah. After this session, we were going to have a group photo. And let me conclude this session. And it's really the time to enjoy the beautiful weather of Jeju Island. Okay, thank you for coming. And this concludes this session. Thank you very much.